It's windy. The wind's just blowing my hair all around. My hair's getting pretty crazy these days. Hey, what's up guys? It's Kodak. Today I want to talk to you about my camp kitchen and how I cook. My new home! So the base of my setup here is the Everest 2X by Camp Chef. It's like super powerful, like roasting potatoes and anything like that, where you just like crank the heat and just get things super crispy. It works really well. That being said, I did have some issues with it in the beginning. I kept blowing out those like metal regulators. The release valve would trip on it, I think just because I'm using a bulk tank down here. Camp Chef was amazing. They sent me, I think they sent me 2 or 3 replacement regulators. Every one of them I blew out. So they eventually sent me this actual like rubber hose. Standard little garbage can down here. And this is that hose I was talking about. It's definitely nicer than having that metal regulator stick out of the end here. That's what kept blowing out on me. I haven't had any issues once I upgraded to this. Got a 10-gallon bulk propane tank. This thing, it lasts a long time, probably about a month or so if I'm cooking like every day, multiple meals, coffee and stuff like that. I just keep some like paracord on here to help keep this hose when I'm in transit. If you're not going to use a bulk tank and you're using those like 1-pound green Coleman canisters, you can refill them actually. Walmart sells this little adapter that'll refill those containers, and it's only, I think it's like $15, so you really can't beat it. You just like screw it into the bulk tank, attach your 1-pound tank, flip it upside down, crack the valve and let it sit for about a minute, and it'll fill those containers up and you can keep reusing them. You do have to be careful, they will leak after a while. Like I was doing that with my little buddy heater for a long time. I would just like refill a few of them and just run through them. But yeah, they do leak, so just be careful and check them when you're done just to make sure you're not like venting propane into your van, because that wouldn't be good. The bulk tanks are like so much safer because they're actually like tested, and let's try that again. They are definitely certified to like way higher standards, so you don't have to worry about them as much. And if it does get like cracked open while there's nothing connected to it, it won't vent. Like you can full on open that thing as long as you don't have anything connected to it and nothing will happen. Always make sure to disconnect your appliances when you're not using them. It's just much safer that way, just in case anything does get like turned on, especially when you're driving. Like if you leave it hooked up to a stove with everything rattling, like sometimes these knobs will get turned. So make sure just disconnect it from the main bulk tank and make sure that thing's shut off. For my primary skillet, I have a 12-inch cast iron. And that's another thing I love about this stove, is it will fit that 12-iron skillet plus a 10-inch just regular ceramic coated fry pan. I hate Teflon, so I use the ceramic, plus the ceramic tends to be more durable. A tip for cleaning cast iron skillets is just to use salt. Sprinkle salt in there and then just take like paper towel or an old rag or something and just wipe it out. When it comes to cleaning, I mean, I really kind of don't. You can see all like the food crusties that are still left in there from last night's dinner. I honestly don't worry about it, especially in a skillet that I'm cooking in. With my plates, I just kind of wipe them off, a little bit of water. I'll use my fingers, whatever. I don't use soap. I've had hundreds of nights cooking out of this thing, and it's only seen soap like a handful of times. So yeah, I don't worry about it. You're not gonna get sick from it, especially if you're not cooking a lot of meats. Like obviously if you're cooking meat, then yeah, you're gonna wanna wipe down your cutting boards and stuff like that. Speaking of cutting boards, this is my cutting board. It's just a wood bamboo cutting board. I don't know, it's nothing fancy, it's just a cutting board. But it works, my brother gave it to me, so that's always cool. I love this, this is my spice rack. I got it from Target. It fits on the floor really nice. And that holds all my spices except for my salt, which is a little too big. But all of this, I store in the floor of the van, which is my nice little new build here. Let's adjust the exposure. We're getting kind of dark, aren't we? All right, so now in the floor of my van is where I store my spice rack and all my food. I got like bagels. I eat a lot of potatoes, a lot of sweet potatoes, and regular Idaho potatoes, tortillas, bread, little mandarins. I've got so many bags of onions. I eat like probably a couple onions a day. Apples, jalapenos, peanut butter. I've got beans galore. I eat so many beans. And if you've seen my Arizona Trail videos, rice and beans is a huge staple for me. Refried pinto beans, refried black beans, regular black beans, kidney beans, every kind of bean you could imagine. It's gonna be in this floor down here somewhere. Oh, coffee too. I love coffee, so I've got a lot of coffee in here. A lot of like fresh coffee because I just got a coffee grinder. So every morning I do some like Wim Hof breathing, just like super deep breaths. I feel so dorky and silly actually doing this on camera, but every morning I practice the Wim Hof just breathing. I don't know, it's like a reset. So I do that every morning. It's part of my morning routine. Olive oil, coconut oil, all the standard kind of food stuff. Of course, like fancy preserves, more coffee. So this is my cooler. It's a Yeti 45. I would love to upgrade to a Dometic, but I just can't afford one right now. And I would have to also upgrade my like solar and power setup. So I mean, the cooler works, you know. A little tip is to keep all your like bags and anything in there that's going to take up the airspace, and your ice will last a lot longer. Also use block ice. Block ice lasts a lot longer than regular crushed ice. Spinach, lots of peppers. I eat a lot of peppers. I love peppers, red peppers and green peppers and yellow peppers. As far as storing eggs, because I eat a lot of eggs, these fancy eggs are expensive, but the containers are amazing. They work way better than those like yellow, like Coughlin brand ones. I've had a lot of eggs break in those. These definitely tend to keep eggs better because, let's see if I can show you this. They have like 2 layers of protection. So let's see. See that? 2 layers. So yeah, they store pretty well. And then to like keep them on the bottom of the cooler too, it helps keep everything else from getting as wet, because it also helps to not drain the cooler so often. It can be a pain like when you're driving around because it will get things wet, but when you're stationary, leave the water and stuff in there because it will just like help keep it colder longer. I eat a lot of like tempeh. I make like wraps with these things. I consider myself to be like whole food plant-based. I will eat meat, especially like burgers and stuff. But when I'm out here, it's more expensive. It's a pain to clean, and it's a lot easier not to out here. 2 6-gallon water containers. I'm working on like a little kind of build and upgrade back here. When I do rice, a lot of times I'll do like rice and lentils mixed too, but I'll make like almost a full pot and then save half for the next day. And honestly, I just leave it sit out. I'll just like sit out on my stove or take it into the van with me if I'm worried about mice, which I mean, it closes so I don't have to worry too much. Every once in a while I worry about a mice like peeing on this thing. When I store my skillets, this is important. You don't want to just like leave everything sit out here because mice are awful and they will get your stuff. So I just flip everything upside down, and then the mice like can't really get into it. Obviously I got a can opener. That's super important. So as far as cooking inside or outside of the van, I almost always cook outside. I mean, 1, I just love being outside, and 2, cooking inside, especially when I'm like frying potatoes and stuff like that, it can be really messy, like grease just splatters everywhere. So I cook on this table. This is REI Co-op. It's whatever their small square like foldable accordion style table is. This thing has been amazing. Like, I absolutely love this table. It also happens to like fit perfectly inside the van, so if I'm like moving around and just like hopping out real quick, I can just like not even take it apart and just toss it in the van and then pull it out and I'm up and running. So when I want to cook in here, I just use this. It's just a cheap Pocket Rocket knockoff. And I'll just make like rice sides, mac and cheese, like rice and beans, any kind of just like simple staple backpacker food really. Or I just won't even cook and I'll just eat like bagels and peanut butter or whatever I have like that. I use a 2.5 gallon water cooler just to like have water that's like handy and easily accessible. I just refill this out of those 6-gallon containers that were in the back. As far as paper towels go, I don't like using them just because I try to minimize my waste, but I will use shop towels because I can like use them multiple times, which I just stash right in here. So these are all paper towels that like, I mean, yeah, they get a little dirty, but like, it doesn't matter. These things hold up so well. They're just like a rag really. And then this is my whole like extra cutting board and my whole culinary set just gets stashed right in here. It's also, this is important, my carbon monoxide detector for when I'm like running the little buddy heater and stuff in here. That way I don't have to worry about dying. Does that mean it's working or not? I'm not really sure. I think that means it's working. I don't know. These are all just plastic. Eventually I'm gonna switch over to wood because I mean I melt them and they're plastic, and like I'd rather not eat plastic. I still don't have a real knife, so I still just use like my little open L pocket knife here. It works well enough. I don't have a chair, but I have a crash pad, and my crash pad like doubles as my like couch. I also have another one that doubles as my bed. So this is where I sit and eat and take in the stars and all the beauty that's around me. It's like the sun's starting to set. Let's turn that down. There we go. Yeah. Woo! It's a pretty place. And I will cook on fires too. And that's what my like cast iron skillet can go right in the fire, and same with my like backpacker pot. And you can see it's been in a lot of fires. And like I said, you can see all the food residue. I mean, it doesn't get washed. It doesn't need to be washed. Like, same with refrigeration. Like, food can sit out, it's just fine. As long as it's not, you know, dairy, which I don't really eat dairy anyway. I mean, I'll eat cheese and stuff. I do love cheese, and cheese can go for like, depending on the cheese, like it can go like a week or more without being refrigerated. Sure, it'll get a little oily, but I mean, I carry it backpacking all the time. It's just fine. But I mean, use common sense there. Don't let yogurt sit out, right? Otherwise, yeah, you don't really have to worry too much. Yeah, that's about it. As far as like cleaning up, like I will use baby wipes. I try to limit them as much as I can, but I will use them. I also have like this Nemo shower that I got at an REI garage sale. It's not open. Sorry, I don't feel like pulling it out, but it's great just to like spray stuff off, like especially like my pots and stuff like that, just to like wash up real quick. Otherwise, I just like kind of drizzle it right out of the nozzle of my little water container. I'm just restarting this channel again. I'm gonna be making a lot more like bikepacking content especially, but I would love to hear like what you guys want to know. So yeah, I don't know, hit me up, let me know what you want to see. And oh, and pro tip, if you're gonna film yourself on your tripod, get in the habit of weighting it down so that the wind can't blow it over, because you don't want to be standing there and have the wind just take your fancy expensive camera and knock it over. So hang something off the hook on the bottom. I just use like, this is just 2 liters of water, which is plenty heavy, and you can see it makes it really hard to knock over. It's possible for sure, but it's definitely a whole lot harder. All right, now it's time for me to make some dinner. I'm gonna have sweet potatoes tonight. Sweet potato with onion, black bean. I'll probably throw some spinach in there at the end. Yeah, that'll be dinner. Sweet potato, onion, and black beans. Also, do you guys like my new like little van setup? I'll film another tour here in a little bit. Take care, get out there and have a great time camping.